I know this might sound like a really polarizing statement, as crazy as that sounds, but I still believe that organic content is the best way for an online fitness coach to grow to 30 to 50K a month for sure, and for most coaches to 50K to 100K a month. And it's not that ads are bad, I just believe organic content is the best way to still grow their business to that level. Let's talk about the reasons why. It's not that ads aren't a really good way to get there. I just think it's what people are optimizing for. Like if someone's purely optimizing for the highest level of revenue level they can say they got to one time, of course, ads has a higher ceiling. But I think when most coaches get really honest with themselves, they're not in this game to just say they got to 500K, $1 million a month. I think most coaches, if they got honest with themselves, what they value more than just a really high revenue level is profit. Financial freedom and stability, time freedom, impact on people. But the last one that doesn't get talked about enough is I think they really care about something that feels sustainable. And I think ads has a higher ceiling. Ads also comes with higher volatility.
I think it all depends on who you ask. And the thing is that there's so many ads out there circulating right now that all you need is an ad to grow your business to 100K a month. Like that's what we see over and over again, and what we hear people say of like, all right, I want to get to 50K to 100K a month sustainably. And what they're seeing out there, again, because there's so many people and gurus running ads on this, is that if they just get the right ad or ads in place, that is the unlock to them getting that. But we've had so many people that, you know, have come to us that was not the case. You know, maybe they tried ads for a bit, it didn't work, and they've kept doing organic and they're just stuck with their organic. So I agree with you. And again, I think it all depends on who you ask, just because it's circulated over and over in the marketplace that ads is the thing that's missing. And we've just seen it time and time again, where if somebody comes in and we focus with them on their organic or making their organic better, or like we've seen with some clients, actually speaking to not just content that's going to grow their audience, but content that's going to speak to their ideal client. Now all of a sudden they are attracting the right people into their conversion system, and they're able to not only convert those people, and then through the process that we teach through the LTV method, being able to install the LTV method and work with their clients for years instead of months. And I just think without having organic content machine in place, like even if you're going to run ads, if you don't have that in place, your ads just will not perform in the way that you want them to.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that a lot of coaches, fitness coaches specifically, that I see at 100K a month, one, some of them are running ads inside our community. So I think people think like, Darius and Mike hate ads. But I think the part that's more interesting, or maybe even shocking for some people to hear, is that 90% of the fitness, nutrition, or health coaches that we have helped get to 100K a month, 200K, 250K a month, we're actually not running ads at all.
Exactly.
And I just share that because I think it, kind of like the 4-minute mile, I think it cracks the belief for some people. Like, oh, wait, what? A fitness coach is doing 100K a month not running ads? I think like the 4-minute mile, that just helps people see what's possible. That's why I believe in organic. As much as we could talk about the ad side, here's why I believe in organic still being the better way to get there. It allows you to control the controllables, right? I think the sell of going to ads is you'll never have to create content ever again. The truth when you go do ads is you're creating 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 creatives on a monthly basis, but you're just creating it for paid stuff. You're, interestingly enough, still creating content. So why not build the foundation of one day going to ads off of organic? Organic is one of the best ways to test what actually works. Then you have that and dump dollars on top of it. It's not one or the other. Organic, because you're going to be creating anyways, allows you to, with low risk of dollars, allows you to see what's actually working. A lot of our 50K to 100K a month coaches that are getting there through organic, the thing they're more proud of, that I'm more proud of, is two things: sustainability and profit. Like they're actually doing 50 to 100K a month every single month for 12, 18, 24, 36. I think of a couple coaches in our community right now, they just passed their second, third, and fourth years in a row doing $1 million a year. Versus some people that I've seen that finally got to $1 million with ads, then that ad strategy stopped working. I'm thinking of a name right now in my own mind, like they did $1 million 2 years ago with ads, and this year they're gonna do 200K. And so there's the volatility that organic helps stabilize out as the foundation of the business. You see any thoughts on that? As far as just like not optimizing for who can get to the highest revenue the fastest, but who can optimize for like long-term, sustainable, consistent wealth. Any thoughts on that with the coaches and clients you work with?
The clients who have come in who have already built that organic machine before before even looking at adding a system on top. They just have way more sustainability over time.
Yeah.
Their audience knows, likes, and trusts them way more because it's not just some random ad that's popping up on their phone or their device and, hey, buy my fitness coaching program. But again, like all of our clients, that I just think that the people that have gotten the best results, they have such a connection with their audience, and it comes from their consistency with that organic content.
Yeah.
And I love the point that you shared too about ads become something that you invest in on top of that.
Yeah.
So once that piece of content already is working, it's already getting reach, people already like it, now let's increase the visibility on that post by investing in a boosted, making it a boosted post and getting more reach to that post.
Yeah. And I still believe in organic content being the more predictable path in getting there. I think the shift most people haven't made about organic content is they are still creating content instead of building marketing plans. Yes, in 2016, 17, and 18, you could find a good mirror with good lighting, take a picture and write a good caption and a CTA, and boom, you'd have a shit ton of leads in your inbox. The reality is it doesn't work as effectively anymore. So that causes people to just say organic doesn't work anymore. Organic, without a doubt, still works. You just must elevate the way you think about content and think about it from a marketing plan. Marketing plan being like, do you have a top of funnel strategy, a middle of funnel strategy, and a bottom of funnel strategy with clear intent that like, this is the reason I'm creating content. So it nurtures and builds trust here and gets people on calls. And most people just don't have that. They're just creating content for the algorithm.
Yeah.
And that's what causes them to say organic doesn't work. No, you're playing the wrong game. You're creating content for likes, shares, followers, etc. The coaches that we work with, that their organic is building a good business. Yes, they're wanting those things, but they're playing the game with a clear intent of, I want to attract pre-qualified leads. I want to attract the right types of leads. I want to attract perfect fit leads that are emotionally invested, serious, or ready to actually consider working with. I think that's what most people get wrong. They're just creating content for the algorithm, not creating content for attraction.
The thing that I've heard you share over and over again, and you just shared some of that about how you want to have a system in place that attracts these maybe pre-qualified or qualified people, or people that are an ideal fit, not just numbers. But if you were to, the thing that I've heard you talk about also is like your content pillars.
Yeah.
You know, having things like that in place. Could you just share more on content pillars? You also kind of have your, what we call the 5 V's. I don't know if you want to touch on that as well when it comes to content, but I think there's a lot of things that actually make that work. And the third thing that I would add to that would be how you talk about standards when it comes to content.
Yeah.
Could you touch on those?
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say
things?
is, once again, people just jump to organic doesn't work, or organic can't get me to 50 to 100K a month. Is it that organic can't get you to 50 to 100K a month, or do you just have the wrong standards and the wrong process? Some of the things that you just brought up, like if you're gonna do organic, have an actual process, have an actual system. Things like the number of people that I see posting organic that don't even know what their content pillars are. How are you ever gonna build a brand if you don't know what your core pillars are? And then some people go, well, I already posted that last week, so I can't post it again. The thing you posted a week ago that worked and it actually like spoke to your ideal client, that's the exact thing that you should post again, because guess what? That's how you build trust, and that's how you build a brand.
Yeah.
Consistency. Like the analogy I use a lot of times is Geico. How many times over how many decades at this point have we heard a little green gecko say what? You can save 15% on your car insurance. They didn't go, oh shit, that worked, but
Let's
we can't
switch
say it
the
again,
message.
right?
Yeah.
We can't say it again because it worked. No, they said that so many damn times it became their brand. And that's where people go wrong with organic. They don't have pillars because they think they can't talk about the same thing over and over again. When the truth is, talking about random things a lot can probably get you to 5 to 10K a month. But having consistent pillars that you become known as, where someone goes on your page and they say, finally, a guy that, oh, I really love her page because she always talks about blank. That's how you build trust. That's how you build a brand. And that's what multiplies your organic to finally get to 30K to 50K. Then they finally have pillars, but they're imbalanced in their content styles. And we call that the 5 V's, as you know. Value content by itself is dead. We live in the day of AI. If I just wanted information, I'd just go on AI or Google. And so value content by itself, but the number of coaches that I evaluate their pages and they're at 50, 60, 70% of their content is value content and they wonder why they're not attracting enough leads to do 30, 50, 100K a month. They have an imbalance of the V's. So let's talk about the V's. Yes, you want to have value content, but value content should be more about, it should have this like relatability feel. It should have this how I feel, not how to feel.
Love it.
So someone goes, oh my gosh, she is just like me. I'd rather listen to her information because she gets me, not I'd rather listen to ChatGPT's information that's just giving me general and broad stuff. So value content still works, but it has to be through storytelling. It has to be through relatability. So number one V is value. Yes, value is still important when done the right way. Then the second V is vulnerability, which we like to call relatability. Vulnerability content makes your value stuff relatable. If you're putting out value without relatability, you still won't get people to buy. We love to do business with people that we like and relate to. I think about all the time, have you ever tipped well above your normal tipping percentage because you really liked your waiter or waitress?
Absolutely.
We love giving money to people that we relate to. But if your page is just info without the relatability and the vulnerability, you're missing that human part that people are craving today on social media. Because you can get the information without the human. People are craving that human side. Then the third V, victory, right? People need today more than ever the certainty and the evidence or the proof, if you want to call it that you don't know just what you're talking about and I don't just relate to you, but you can get me the result that I say I want. And so you have to have a balance of value done the right way with vulnerability and victory. But then a lot of people do that. You might be saying like, I do that already, and they really struggle with what we call vision content. And vision content helps people see a path forward. Hence vision, right? See. It helps people see what you stand for and how to move forward with you. Vision content should accomplish two things. It should make it really clear what you stand for and what you stand against. Because if you don't talk about those two things, you become another generic voice. And when people can see what you stand for and stand against, it allows them to be like, oh, this might be the type of person I actually want to move forward with. And then it allows you to create a type of content that helps people see a path to take action with you. You might be saying, what's the fifth V? I heard you say 5. We actually don't focus on the fifth V that much until someone's really nailing those 4 consistently. And then the fifth one, yes, is virality. We don't hate viral content. We just flip it on its head. I think too many coaches come at it like, I gotta go viral, I gotta go viral, I gotta go viral. We go, get good at the pillars that actually attract clients. Optimize for enrollments, not engagement. Then when you know what's getting enrollments, go viral with those things. And that's how you build a brand. That's how you multiply. That's how we have coaches doing literally 50 to 100, some 100 to 200K a month, and they're not running a single ad right now. So yeah, you gotta have that. And then Darius, you asked the last part. It's not that organic doesn't work. I said earlier, it's do you have the wrong process and do you have the right standards? And so if we're just being honest with ourselves, some people just don't have the right standards with their content. They don't have a standard of like, I'm gonna put out 4 storytelling pieces of content this week, and they just put out 1. Or they're like, I'm gonna really let people know in my stories, right, what I'm offering right now. They do it once instead of 3 times. Like they just have the wrong standards, and then they say organic content doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen over and over again is just the consistency factor. I've seen people they might even watch this video and get really excited and be like, okay, I'm going all in, I'm gonna do the V's, and they do it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe a month.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I think I'm just gonna do something else, or they stop putting the focus and the energy into it. And the people that win this are the ones that are playing the long game, but that long game includes the consistency over and over and over again. I think very often about how Gary Vaynerchuk, who most people know as Gary V, if you want to see something pretty funny, go on YouTube and type in Wine Library video 1 or video 2 or video 3. And a lot of people see Gary V's content today and they're like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. He speaks so well, all of these things. Go back and watch his earlier videos.
It's trash.
It's terrible, right? Like he's not skilled at all. He's fumbling all over it. It doesn't sound good. But what he talks about is he's like, hey, I'd love to see you, like you say you're gonna make content. Let me know when you've made your 1,000th video, right? And so many people are wanting to win and they're doing 2 videos, 10 videos. I mean, maybe 100. Like 100, you'd be at the high level if you've put out 100 pieces of content. But very few people are thinking about what I'm gonna be like when I'm at my 1,000th video, or what I'm gonna be like when I'm at my 10,000th video. Something that you shared that I think deserves some more attention is the how I versus how to. Like you talk about that so much inside of our container, but could you just share more about what the difference is in content and how you've seen that impact people's business and their reach and their content when they've made that switch from making how-to content versus how-I content.
And I think well, first, I think the credit, if I remember when that phrase first got said, goes to Alex Ramosi. So like just the tagline of so I just want to make sure I say that. The difference I've seen, I'll just do it in real time. How I realized that was a better way to grow the business is I don't look like the fucking cover photo of a fitness magazine. I was a scrawny Asian dude, and yet I grew a fitness coaching business, not a business coaching, like my fitness coaching business, to 200 to 300K a month with an audience of less than 10,000 followers. How was I able to do that? The content I was putting out was not trying to reach the masses. It wasn't trying to look like I was the expert of all things fitness. What I was doing was sharing how I was working 80 hours a week as a sales manager, got wildly out of shape, and then finally started to prioritize my health and my wealth again. And not only did I get back into great shape, better shape in my late 20s than I was in my early 20s, but my business grew to $1 million. So I was constantly just sharing that story, and my ideal client, direct sales leaders, real estate agents, sales professionals, all that stuff, they were like, I could just go work with some random fitness guru, or this guy gets my lifestyle. He knows that I'm at my office 7 days a week. He knows that I'm getting dropped off on the doors in the middle of nowhere with I told my exact story of how I finally got to 10% body fat with a six-pack at 30 years old while growing a 7-figure sales organization. That's how I realized that how-I content made a bigger difference, because how-to, they go, yeah, more information, it's boring. How-I causes the person who's watching to go, holy shit, this might be good for me. Like when you can relate to someone's real life problem and situation better than they can even describe it themselves, they just automatically give you permission to solve it for them. And the best way to show somebody that you understand their problem is to share your story to show them that you were once in their exact shoes.
That's perfect. The other thing that you said that I want to get some more attention on is you talked about vision, and the way you just described it right now, I think might even be, there's some nuance there that I haven't heard before, at least related in that way. But you talked about the vision and being able to share like what you stand for and what you also stand against, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard a lot in content about how important polarity is and things like that. But I think some people fall into the pitfall or the trap of just making polarizing content just to make polarizing content. And next thing you know, they're attracting people to their page or that content, but it's so far off from somebody that they would want to be working with or serving and things like that. Can you just share more on when you say like creating content under that vision content, but creating content in a way that shares what you stand for and what you stand against, and more emphasis on that what you stand against content? Like how would somebody go about that?
Well, let's just start with why I call it vision content instead of polarity content. Get another V in there instead of a P.
Yeah.
But that's not really the main reason. The reason why I call it vision content instead of polarity content is that I am a deeply recovering people pleaser. And why I say that is that when I used to hear people tell me on social media I had to be polarizing, I couldn't fucking do it. Like I would get like in my literal body, like I would get scared about what someone's gonna respond, and what if someone argues with me? What if someone says I hate you now? Like I struggle still to this day a little bit with the concept of just being polarizing for the sake of being polarizing. Not only that, I do think a lot of not even new. I do think a lot of coaches who create content online to grow their business, they hear polarizing and they automatically think they just have to start talking about random shit. Politics, like current events, stuff that just doesn't necessarily add to the brand. It's just the most polarizing thing in America right now. So let's talk about those things. But specifically why I call it vision content, not polarizing content, to be more about what you stand for and what you stand against. It allows, once again, your audience to be like, this is my guy. We're in a social media era right now where I think people are craving authenticity. I think that word even itself gets overused. So I would replace authenticity with humanism. This is a real human that I really relate to, and I really get what he or she stands for. So yes, she's jacked. Yes, he's in shape. Yes, they're this. But I also feel like they're the type of person I want to do business with. I relate to their values, whether the values are family, whether the values are politics, whether the values are religion or whatever it is. I relate to their values, but specifically from a strategic point. When we say what you stand for and what you stand against, even if you never touched on all those value things, it's more about what you stand for and what you stand against strategically with the thing you specialize in. So what that might look like is like why I think counting macros is the stupidest thing you could possibly do if you want, right? That is a version of polarizing, not I think Donald Trump is this, or vaccinations this, or whatever. Like, you don't have to touch any of those things. It's more just like why I never did cardio on my first journey to getting to 10% body fat, and why I actually think it's a waste of time. There could be someone who disagrees with you, but it's my journey, it shows somebody what I stand for. So if someone's watching, they're like, thank God, somebody's telling me I can lose weight and not track my macros and not do cardio. Please tell me how to do this. And so it allows people to cut through the noise. And I'll end with this. If you're talking about it purely from a marketing philosophy, when you get really clear on what you stand for and what you stand against, it takes you out of the red ocean and it creates your own fresh blue ocean. Why is it a blue ocean? Because nobody can be you, right? So I'm now relating to you. You're one of one. I'm relating to you as a human being and nobody else is who you are. And I'm clear on his or her values, so that makes you even more one-on-one. And he or she is being really clear on how she got there, who you are, what you stand for, and your story makes you one of one. And now you're in a blue ocean again. So anybody that says the online coaching space is saturated, it is if you're putting out the same bullshit, generic, cookie cutter content that every coach is telling you to put out. But if you are doing vision content the right way, human, values, your story, you have your own blue ocean.
Perfect. As we wrap up here, I think a distinction that can be made is just what is the difference between a blue ocean and red ocean?
That's a marketing concept of red oceans are saturated marketplaces. Like the literal concept of red oceans is all the sharks have gotten to that ocean now and there's blood in the water.
Okay.
That's where the concept of red ocean comes from, is like all the sharks have come there to make money now and then there's blood. Blue ocean is picture a fresh, clean, right, body of water. No blood in it yet. Nobody's tapped into that body of water. Blue oceans. And one of the ways that you optimize for leads is create a market of one-on-one. Create your own blue ocean that feels new, that feels fresh, that feels different, that feels unique, that feels authentic. That's the difference between a red ocean and a blue ocean. I said earlier, I think the reason why people say organic content doesn't work is because they're trying to be content creators. Pay attention to the trends, pay attention to all those things. But you gotta make a decision at some point. Do I wanna be a content creator, which you could probably make 5 to 15 to 20K being a content creator? Or do I wanna think like a marketer? And when you optimize for enrollments, you're being a marketer. When you're optimizing for engagement, you're being a content creator. One's not right or wrong. You just have to decide which path you're taking. But a marketer will think strategically in marketing campaigns and marketing plans versus a content creator will think, what should I post today? And so I want to end with this. What's a marketing plan made up of? A marketing plan has very intentional content, hits the top of funnel. It opens your net at the top. But that's all content creators are normally doing. A great marketing plan then also very specifically has a game plan for middle of funnel. That content might not get as great of engagement up here, but it very intentionally builds trust, hits 7-11-4, establishes authority with your audience in a way that they start to go, oh, I understand how this person might be able to help me. The bottom is bottom of funnel. I think sometimes for myself, I think to like some of the biggest accounts I follow. And then I ask myself, how do they make money? And the interesting thing is the amount of million-person accounts we know that aren't making $1 million is actually kind of crazy. And so when I think about some of the big accounts I follow, I'm like, how does that person monetize their social media? And there's a lot of times I actually don't know the answer. Is it brand deals? Do they have high ticket coaching? Do they sell a course? I actually don't know with a lot of them. The reason I share that and point that out is because that's what happens with a lot of content pages. So the bottom of funnel content, you must have conversion campaigns. And conversion campaigns are designed to answer to your audience, what do I actually do? You've been following my content for all these months and years, and I appreciate that. But conversion campaigns actually answer, what do I do? How specifically do we help our ideal client, and why you should consider reaching out right now? And if you're not doing that regularly, people will love your content and never know how to reach out to you to actually work with you. And so that's the difference when I say, are you a content creator or do you think like a marketer? Content creators say, what should I post today? Marketers think, what's my top of funnel strategy, middle funnel strategy, bottom of funnel strategy that optimizes for enrollments, not engagement. That's why I still to this day, I truly think it's a polarizing statement in our industry. I still believe organic content is the most profitable, predictable way to get to at least 20 to 50K and many to even still 50 to 100K if they're doing it the right way and they're building the right model.